Hey funnel builders, Mike Killen here from sellyourservice.co.uk. Do you struggle finding customers and generating referrals? If you can't answer this question really succinctly, then it's probably a good indication as to why. Who do you work with? Now, this becomes a really critical question for a lot of funnel builders to ask and be able to ask, because very few funnel builders are able to actually answer it. Most of us will say, oh, I work with small businesses. That's not a who. That's like 99% of the GDP of most countries. When we talk about who we work with, often as funnel builders, we kind of get a bit confused and we start talking about what it is that we do and the benefits that someone can get when they work with us. And we kind of almost wear it as a bit of badge of honor, that people don't really understand what it is that we do. How often have your customers or even your friends, colleagues, people that you work with, family members say, ah, yeah, you know, Mike, he does this stuff with marketing, but I don't really know what it is that he does. I don't really understand it. What we do actually isn't that complicated, but we seem to wear it as a badge of honor to make it complicated and have other people see it as also being quite complicated, perhaps more so than it needs to be. A lot of the time, I believe that that is what prevents us from generating the referrals and the customers and the traction that we A, need, B, desire, and C, deserve to have for our own businesses. Ryan Deiss explained this really well to me in the interview that I did with him last year, which was businesses are defined by the markets that they serve, not the products that they sell. I think we get really good at explaining what we do, and we really focus on the benefits that we bring, the results we can create, the features that we have, but we forget that most important part of the entire mix, which is who we work for and who we serve. Some people might call this your market, some people might call it your ideal customer, some people might call it your niche. That's all kind of unnecessary, in my opinion, until you really understand who you work for. I think one of the big misconceptions is that people feel, or funnel builders feel, as soon as they choose a market or a type of person, that they're immediately restricting the amount of other work that you could potentially be finding. I want to posit a question to you. Are you at the moment overwhelmed with profitable work that you enjoy doing that always brings a return revenue? Are you at the moment overwhelmed with projects and work that bring in profitable revenue? Are you working on lots of projects that are profitable? If you're not, okay, and if you're not overwhelmed and really busy at the moment, it's probably because you don't have a succinct and clear idea of who it is that you work for. Is there a common thread between all of the customers that you work for? I do believe that an ideal customer exists. I remember doing this exercise with a coaching customer of mine, and they said, oh, well, we do this because we do it as an exercise to find our ideal customer, but we don't, obviously the ideal customer doesn't really exist. I believe that they do exist, and I kind of want to take you through this journey of you have to really work on who you work with. Getting over the idea that as soon as you choose a niche or a market that you're excluding everyone else. Earlier, when I said, are you overwhelmed with work now? Most of you are going to go, no, not really. I'm looking for more leads. I'm looking for more work. Well, then why don't we focus down, even if we tried it just for 3 months and just focused really heavily on one very specific who, one very specific market, one very specific niche or a specific customer. We'll focus on who we work with and don't worry about if you're being excluded, because you're not overwhelmed with work at the moment. If you're not overwhelmed with work at the moment, then then excluding people isn't going to make much difference. So even just try it. What we found is that as soon as we've decided on a niche and picked a niche and really committed to it, that we've actually been inundated with work very quickly, far quicker than we had ever anticipated. So flipping that model on its head, when we say, okay, who is it that we work with? I don't doubt that if every company in the world employed you, that you would be able to bring some kind of benefit to them and you'd be able to help them in some way. Everyone from people who own an individual flower shop all the way over to some of the biggest B2B enterprise level telco companies. I don't doubt that you couldn't help all of those businesses. Instead, what we're ultimately trying to do is come up with a definable market that other people recognize. It's far easier for your colleagues, for your customers even, for your friends, for your family to make recommendations to you when they know who you work with. All too often, we expect our kind of friends and family to say, oh, you should work with Mike. He builds marketing funnels, or he builds email automation sales platforms, or whatever it is. And it's kind of a bit like, okay, well, that's great to know. And if I guess if anyone's asking for, does anyone know someone who builds email automation platforms? Then yeah, Mike would be a good person for you to go after. But it's actually harder for people to recognize other people who could use that service. Instead, if you say who you work with, and if I said, well, Mike only works with online course builders, Mike only works with people who build plugins, or Mike works with people who create YouTube content, that's far easier for people to be able to make recommendations, and it's also far easier for them to recognize someone that you could work with. Something that we like to do when we start out a new business and go after a new niche is have a very clear idea of who it is that we're going after. And maybe we want to say we work with YouTube influencers to be able to monetize their audience better. So I work with people who shoot YouTube videos and have got at least 35,000 viewers. That would be maybe the market that I go after. If I email out even 25 or 100 people, anywhere between that, and chances are your network, you've got about 200 people that you can get in contact with and say, hey, I'm looking to work with YouTube influencers who have got 35,000 followers to help them, generate money from their audience. I guarantee at least one person in your network is going to know someone who goes, yeah, I actually do know someone who fits that bill, who fits that marketplace. It's far easier rather than saying, do you know anyone who needs an email automation platform to monetize their current followers? No, I don't really know. Do you know someone who is rather than who needs? Do you know someone who is rather than who needs? And that's what we're trying to come up with, is someone who is. Now, there's a lot of other things that you need to bear in mind. First of all, the who that you go after has to support your business. Is that a profitable market? For example, if I was to say, yeah, a lot of people for some reason jump on social enterprises and charities. They say, we help charities and not-for-profits, which is horseshit because charities by definition run on profit. They don't declare it, but I don't understand why they're called that. Sorry, I went into conspiracy level Mike there. People who say, I work with not-for-profits, they don't have any money. So that's not really a market that can sustain me. An easy sale does not necessarily mean that it's going to be profitable for me. Just because a not-for-profit does need more donations, and we've worked with them. We've worked with people like Central Asia Institute and stuff like this. We've worked with charities, but it's very difficult to get them on board. They don't really have a huge amount of money to spend. Even if they do have a lot of cash, they're very reluctant to spend it for a variety of reasons. So that's not a who that I can necessarily help, because they can't sustain my business. So I'm going to cross that out. Instead, absolutely think about what it is that you bring to the market. One of the previous videos I talk about, what is it that you are bringing to the market? What is it you do? What results can you help people get? What kind of benefits do you bring to the marketplace? What do you do better? But think about, okay, well, who would benefit from that? Who would benefit from these things? And write out all of the people who would benefit. Like I said, I don't doubt that you could work with all of those people, but what we're going to do is work on one person, one type of customer, one who, to be able to email out and say, hey, we work with businesses that build whiteboards. I don't know, if anyone knows anyone who works in the whiteboard space or works with businesses that build whiteboards, please let us know. I guarantee you someone will know someone in your network who will be a part of that industry. It's far easier to start generating leads, referrals, and recommendations when it's clear who you work with. Now, will that stop other businesses? Let's say you do just focus on whiteboards. Is that going to stop furniture manufacturers? Is that going to stop telco companies? Is that going to stop flower shops from approaching you and saying, hey, I know that you did this for this whiteboard company, can you do the same to me? Absolutely not. And there's nothing wrong with going after that customer, but generating initial leads and sales is far easier when you're very clear on who it is that you work with. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments below if you have got a who. It's really important for me as well at Sell Your Service to know the funnel builders who do work with a very specific niche. If you know someone that you want to work with, if there's a specific niche that you go after, let me know and I'd happily make referrals and recommendations. I'd love to build up a network of people who work in specific niches. and pass that work on, because obviously I get a lot of work through and a lot of leads, things that I can't necessarily work on. Let me know in the comments below if you do have a who that you like to go after. And yeah, thanks very much for watching. I will see you later. Mike from sellyourservice.co.uk. Hey guys, Mike here at the end of the video where I do the bit where there's like a video up here and I say you should totally watch this video. This one will probably be on the previous video I talked about what you bring to the market. Another one here about starting a marketing funnel business, and I'll probably have the subscribe button here or down below. Thanks very much. I'll see you on the next video.